always these snafus here in this studio. So where was I? Oh my goodness. What's that? Yeah, I've been at that apartment after the fire. Oh my God, it was so stressful. Not having my belongings and living like I was living. That was that October. I went into that place and the fear and being scared to be there and all the drama going on in my body for my disability and then all the new stuff, the nerve being racked all the time and pins and needle pricks sticking in me, not even like pins and needles. Sometimes like it wasn't even a little pin and needle pricks that a lot of people can relate to. It was like somebody sticking a knife in like some parts of my body. It was just so overwhelming and horrible. And I remember having something I heard of before, never experienced in all the years of my disability and all the hospitalizations and sufferings and procedures. I never ever experienced the fight or flight scenario, and I had one of those, and it scared the bejeepers out of me. I remember being there in that apartment. I was sitting on the floor in the living room, and oh my goodness, I was there for not without a TV for a while. Even it was just crazy, bonkers crazy. But I remember getting up, and I just ran. And I was in like the bedroom. It had this apartment. I always had a 2-bedroom apartment. This place was a 1.5 bedroom. And I remember running into the actual full bedroom. And I almost went out of the window in the bedroom. It was like I just like came out of that fear and fright and that overwhelming realm of stress and came back. And I was like, oh my God. What am I doing? I realized I was about to go through this window, and it scared me. And I remember going to the hospital, and that's when they explained to me at the emergency room. I was in the one part, the physical part, like the regular emergency room, because I had so much pain, and I got pain medication, and then they through the wheelchair, they wheeled me over to the mental health part, and I was talking to this counselor, and he explained to me that that's what had happened, and then they gave me some medication. Well, they gave me a pill, I forget the name of it, and they when I talked to the psychiatrist, he explained, he told him maybe about 7 or 8 pills and how they help with stuff like this and this anxiety, and he told me that about the fight or flight scenario. That that's what I experienced again. Because of the first person I talked to was a counselor, and then the psychiatrist came in and we talked, and he told me about the flight or fight again and explained more about it. And if you take these, they rattle off this list of names of medications, I guess anti-anxiety medications, and that. I said, you mean if I take a pill like that, then situations like this won't happen? And he said, yes. I was just kind of blown away by that. So the recommendation was to go back to my primary and, excuse me, and to and get some anti-anxiety medication. And I remember I did, and she wouldn't give me any, and it's so horrible because there are these stigmas about certain medications like pain medications or narcotic pain medications and sleep aids and anti-anxiety medications that makes it hard for you to get it. But if you have situations where you need these medications, you should be able to get these medications. And I was just blown away that I couldn't get a script for this anti-anxiety medication, and that had happened to me, that scenario. And it's like, what do you do? And I dealt with this early in my disability with the pain medication. It's like, as a matter of fact, I remember belonging to a support group with people that had reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And the group eventually disbanded. And I remember one of the women that founded the group, a woman named Gail, we used to continue to talk via phone. And I remember it was sometime, maybe a year after the group disbanded, and I would talk to her about the goings on of the disability and the treatment and the workers' comp hearing and all the BS that would go on there. And I remember her saying to me, "You should write a book. You have an incredible story to tell." And I remember thinking it was a ludicrous idea. I mean, I didn't say that to her, but one of the things I said to her, as a matter of fact, it was after one of my hospitalizations. One of the things I said to her is, I don't think I could relive all of that horror. But as years went on, I came to see it is an incredible story to tell, and it is something that needs to be told, and it's not so much this is what happened to me, although it is. I wanted to talk about the treatment of people with chronic pain, and I did, and because I eventually finished the book. I did. It came a while on. I just started journaling, and that was it. I just considered it journaling, and it was such a release too. I couldn't believe what a relief, and it was like a joy to get stuff down on paper. It's a good feeling. But as time went on and as situations and scenarios went on, I realized she told the truth. This needs to be told. And I started to look at it not as journaling, but as a book. And I remember when I finished it, it was a great feeling. But that book is also, that manuscript, if you will, is also a part of the belongings that this racist landlord has of mine. But oh my goodness, the treatment that you get or the non-treatment that you get can further cause you to be harmed or crippled or not get better. But yes, so it's just been so much outside of, it was just so much outside of the disability and not having my belongings. I remember this doctor referring me to this place on Main Street, and I went there and to get the medications. Like, why can't I get them from her? And everybody wants to pass the buck. Nobody wants to treat you with certain medications. I've experienced it so much. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I go over that in the book also. But yeah, so I went there, and they wouldn't give me anything. They said, "No, you're not supposed to be here. This place is for drug addicts, ex-criminals." It was a third category of persons, but I didn't fit into any of those categories. And so they couldn't treat me. So the social worker I was talking to, he said, I told him about the emergency room happenings and what drove me to the emergency room, those happenings. And he said, well, maybe, what do you think if I called your doctor? And I said, okay. Because, I mean, that scared me, and I wanted some medication. I wanted something, truly, surely what I need is for the situation to be resolved so that I can start living like a normal human being again, and I don't have these fight or flight scenarios. But in the meantime, I needed the medication to help with all of this drama that I was going through, and to not have these kind of situations of fight or flight scenarios going on again. So he called, and oh my goodness, I could hear this doctor on the phone. Is she coming here asking for, like I'm some kind of addict or something? And I, and I come in asking specifically for that particular pill I asked for. I did ask for it specifically, but only because that's what they gave me in the emergency room. So, and I remember the social worker, he has a phone up to his ear, and he goes like this. I mean, this woman was just, it's so hard getting the help. It's a part of the story, but it's kind of an aside to the story. But I want to explain, like, some of the things, or all of them, if you will. I need to explain them all that I've been going through that has further hindered me or crippled me from getting assistance. And that's one of the things. And excuse me, it was just so terrible, but I never got any medication, and then it's like it's really hard to believe that I just been swirling around in this vicious cycle of viciousness all alone, with no help, no concern, no support, no medication from, like, nothing from another human being or pill even, and it's just it's hard to believe I'm still standing and have my faculties about me. But oh my goodness, I eventually stopped going to this doctor because, well, that happened, and there were a few other things that happened. But the thing that made me decide to stop going to see this person, this doctor, was I ended up, this is why I'm still without all of my belongings and everything, and in this horrible, horrible apartment, and all the stress of being there, and in a horrible neighborhood, horrible apartment, horrible downstairs tenants, and all the drama going on in my body, and trying to find assistance to get my furniture and all of my belongings. And oh my goodness, I went to the bathroom one Sunday, and I washed my face. I bent over the sink, soaping up my face, and then I bent over again. I stood up, soaping up my face, and bent down to get some water up to rinse my face. And when I stood up, I saw black and stars, and I felt real dizzy, and I grabbed onto the sink to keep from going down. And my heart was beating really, really fast. And I didn't know what it was at the time. It was beating so fast, faster than, say, if you ran or if you went up a flight of stairs or something like that. I'm so tired. I probably slept an hour last night. So anyway, I didn't call an ambulance. I didn't want to go to the hospital right away because of my disability. Hospitals have been such a large part of my life for so long because of the disability, and physical therapy there, and doctor's appointments there, and hospitalizations and stuff like that. So it took me a while. It's just sort of like the last place I wanted to be, and I was thinking it was something that would go away. But I remember sitting down because I thought it would something that would go away. I thought if I just rested, tried to be calm, it'll go away. And when it seemed like it wasn't, and I kept getting scared, I'm like, this beat is abnormal. And my goodness. I remember getting back up after sitting down for about 15 minutes and slowly starting to gather things to get ready to go to the hospital. And I did that in stages. I would let me get my coat in my purse and sit back down because I couldn't do it so much at a time. Then I got up and I got a top and some pants, I think, until I got it all together. And I called the ambulance before I totally finished getting it all together because I knew by the time they got there, I would be dressed and ready. And so that happened, and then I got to the hospital, and come to find out that I had a hole in my heart, and so I had to have heart surgery, and I did have the heart surgery. I remember when I was in the hospital to have the heart surgery, one of the doctors asked me, was I taking anything for anxiety? And I said, no. And he got this look on his face like, you should be. You ought to be. And I know what he saw. I was bright enough to recognize that I was full of anxiety. I knew that I was. I knew what he saw, and he was right. I should. But my mind also went back to that flight or fight situation, and going to the doctor, and going to the emergency room, going to my primary care, and then being sent to this other place, and then him calling down, and it's like, no, I cannot go back to her again. I need to be, with the doctor that's gonna address my needs and not be so ruled by outside things that go on. Yes, there are people that abuse medications like that, anti-anxiety medications and pain medications, but not everybody. Some people legitimately need those medications, and they should get them. So it was just so much of that going on. Just what I just said, so much drama and so much of the stuff that was going on. It made it a lot of days unable to function, like not only physically but mentally. It's like the brain is just so filled up with just the misery and pain of simply existing, and there's the frustration of not finding any help or anyone to help me, and then the little movements that I had, like if I had to go to the doctor or if I had to go out to get some food or something. It's like I do the slightest little thing. When I leave out, I'm just barely able to move. So then I go out pushing through that. I can't just stop or can't just don't do. I can't employ all of those things that I did from the two doctors and the physical therapy and my own personal experiences from living. I can't employ those because it's not a moment to do it. It's like there's no space to do it. So I would do what I absolutely had to do in pain. I would start out in the midst of all the drama going on. And so when I would come back in, it would be more pain and misery and rocking back and forth and holding myself. And I remember a lot of times I would have that feeling. It was a feeling like I wanted to run. And I remember having that feeling when I had the fight or fight episode that took me to the emergency room. And I didn't know where to go to get any kind of medication for it. I remember going back to that doctor after that, after the social worker talked to her. And she eventually did prescribe me something. I forget what it was called, Buspirone or something like that. But that was really, it wasn't effective. And also it was something that took, I think, 6 to 8 weeks to start working. And I'm thinking, you know, I had this mindset, what do I do in between time? What if I have another one of those episodes? What if I actually hurt myself and, you know, not intentionally, but what if I'm just so overwhelmed by all of this, and it's just, oh my goodness, it was just so much. But I didn't get what I was given in the emergency room anyway, the pill that I don't remember the name of. I never did get that. So it's just so, I remember I could feel it, like I wanted to just flee. And I remember wrapping my arms around, it may seem silly, but I remember wrapping my arms around the leg of the coffee table because I was afraid that I was going to have one of those episodes again. I was going to just get up and want to flee, and I was just trying to like hold on to something or like hold myself down or something like that. And I was thinking, not then, but later I was thinking, if I just had to medicate, it's just so horrible. It's just so much. It's so much about treatment. With certain medications, it's taking me back to the beginning of my disability and everything that went on, and the impetus for Gail saying you should write a book. You have an incredible story to tell, and everything that I put in my book. It really is a lot. The treatment, the disease, the symptoms, the treatments, certain laws and things that are in place that I really hope. Oh my goodness, that's an aside. I just got a memory. One of the other things that I would do, besides the glasses and the cups and things, a vacuum cleaner. I remember buying I remember thinking it was so wonderful. Not so much initially, but after it conked out on me, I thought, what a wonderful thing. It's a Dirt Devil Featherlight vacuum cleaner. I remember when I bought it, I mean, I didn't have to put much arm strength into it at all. I mean, it practically like just glided itself across the carpet, you know, but I remember it broke down on me after some years, and I remember getting another type vacuum cleaner, and it was like, oh my goodness, I could barely push it, and that had to go back. The Dirt Devil Featherlight really worked well for me. It was like I wasn't even vacuuming, you know, I had hardly had to put any kind of strength or arm strength into it to do it, and so I had really built a household that really was successful in making me functional within the realm of the disability that I have, and I could just do everything that a normal person would, or a person that doesn't have the disability anyway. I could do everything because I had, you know, in living with it and knowing what to do, what caused harm, I built a household where I really could be functional physically, successfully functional physically, without being incapacitated or crippled with the pain and the weakness. And now, because of the races, that has all been taken care of me, taken from me. And I do need help. I should not be homeless. And I should not be, the physical part, like the symptoms they're more often. I don't have these great remissive periods anymore. I'm sure you can imagine, that I wouldn't, because I don't have, I'm not in regular normal surroundings, and I don't have my belongings with me. And oh my God, I'm just thinking about stuff that I skipped over, like being in that apartment and seeing my first Thanksgiving without having a turkey and stuffing and all of that, because I didn't have the stove. It was just a microwave. But I own a stove. I bought a stove. But the races had it. And going through my first Christmas with no tree and none of the other normalcy that I'm used to and that everybody is used to at Christmas time, because the racist has it all. And I've had the experiences with him and other white people that if you try to complain about somebody that's white, that white person you're complaining to, they're going to be on that fellow white person's side. So I found that I really did need someone black to help me, and I think it's so sad, though. It really is, this whole issue of race and racism. And I posed the question, who will help me? Will it be someone of my own race? Is there anybody white that will actually help me? It's truly a very sad situation. All the way around. Then, this horrible place that I was living in, the guy sold the house. So the upstairs tenant and the downstairs tenant had to move. I called so many people, including some relatives, to help me. Nobody would help. They packed a few items that I had bought while I was there. It was a few, because I didn't buy that many. Because I know I didn't really need them, because I had a house full of stuff. I bought what was absolutely necessary through those catalogs I had to credit with. And it was so hard financially, because I would buy stuff that, like on my JCPenney card, things that I absolutely needed, like a winter coat, winter boots. There was certainly no one that would get that stuff for me, and I would use my charge card, which I hated to do, because I had this pattern of spending where, I would keep my monthly payments low. And where I would keep my monthly payments low, and I couldn't do that in before all of this happened, the fire and everything, my monthly JCPenney payment was I think $49. And at some point, because all of my stuff was locked away from me and taken from me, I had to get absolute necessities, and I would put them on my card. And my JCPenney payment, my monthly payment, ended up being $187 a month, from 40 something to 187, and it took just about all of my income. So it was just financially, it was just hard. It put me in quite a spot that I wasn't used to, not having funds to even get through the month. That was new to me because I always had the funds to get through the month after paying rent and gas and phone and electric and a few charge card bills. I had money to get through the month. But because I was living in a way I wasn't used to, because the racist has all of my belongings, things just changed, and that was another stressor along with the physical and the neighborhood and all the other stuff that I told you about. It was just, but I truly was doing what I had to do. I had no one to assist me. And I remember as I was packing up the things, it was so hard to look for a new apartment within 30 days. I mean, physically, I just did not have the physical capacity to actually go looking, and there was no one to help me. And I knew that no one at Belmont Shelter Corp would help me because of the racism I had experienced with the so-called, prior to the fire, I would have a housing specialist. And then after the fire, I was assigned a relocation specialist, someone that specifically will help you find a place, more expediently because you've had a fire or whatever happened. And the racism that I experienced from this person, oh my goodness. Oh, it's just like everyone that I went to for assistance, and they were white, I was faced with the racism. I was faced with the hatred for my black-skinned self. Oh my goodness, I packed those few items that I did have there. I was hurting so bad, and I pushed through all of that. And I remember that day I had to be out of there. I went to the motel room, and I remember I just like collapsed on the bed, and I remember all of my hair fell out. I remember laying back, just like falling on the bed. My head fell on the pillow. And I got up, and it was a weird feeling on my head, and I turned around, and I saw my hair on the pillow, and I was like, that's why I felt that feeling. And then I just did like this, and all of it just came right out in my hands. It was just, my body was just so filled up with stress, moving when I shouldn't have been moving. In the midst of all that pain, all that drama going on in my body, I didn't even know. It's amazing how stress can affect your body. It's absolutely amazing. And that is a couple of years ago, my hair still hasn't grown back, because I'm still swirling around in this vicious cycle of viciousness, the pain, the homelessness, no one to help me.
Did you want to
Black or white.
Okay.
Okay, so now I have to take a break.